Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Raising the Curtain. Today, I am here with Jackie Gunderson of the McLean County Penguin Project. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I really appreciate you being here. We just kind of started emailing, just a couple days ago? And we were able to get you guys in, which I'm super excited about.
We're thrilled to be able to be here already so soon. Thank you so much.
I know, it's going to be a good time. And I know you have some events coming up, so we want to make sure everyone knows about that. But let's kind of start off a little bit with you, Jackie. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been with this program since 2014. I came in as the producer. My friend was the director, and she had some changes in her staff. And asked me to come in and be the producer. I had no theater experience before that, but I have a special ed degree.
Okay.
So I came in kind of from the perspective of the accommodations and the modifications that our participants need, and I just figure out the theater part of it since then, every year. So I have a really great team that has a great mix of both of those things.
Awesome.
So the places that I don't have a ton of experience, I have staff members that are well-versed and experienced. So, and I had, like I said, a degree in special education. I do not teach anymore, so this is my fun way of using those skills that I learned to give back and not have to do IEPs and parent-teacher conferences.
I know, those parent-teacher conferences are never fun. Awesome. So you've been involved since 2014. When did Penguin Project come to McLean County?
So Penguin Project of McLean County started in 2009. We were the first replication chapter from the Peoria Foundation.
Oh, okay.
So if we talk a little bit about the history, it has grown a ton since 2009, and ours was kind of the catalyst for them to continue expanding. It's in over 50 locations now.
Oh, wow.
And so we kind of were the guinea pig. Dr. Morgan knew a couple folks here in Bloomington that were involved in Bloomington Parks and Rec with the SOAR program and Special Olympics, and decided, hey, Bloomington, I think you're going to be the next chapter. So he announced that at his show in January, unbeknownst to the Bloomington chapter, and that they were going to have a show that summer.
Wow.
So they turned it around. They had only a handful, maybe 12 participants total the first year, and they did Annie the first year.
Okay.
Yes.
Got to start somewhere.
Yes.
And Annie's always a classic.
Annie is the show that every chapter does as their first show.
Oh, that's fun.
So it's kind of a fun thing. Every chapter has done it, and then after that, you kind of have a little more freedom. But yeah, he has everybody do that same show, and then he supports, and he is Dr. Morgan. He was a developmental pediatrician at Easter Seals, and also participated in theater, and thought a lot of his patients could really benefit from something like community theater, but nothing really existed where it was accessible. So he created it in 2004. Yes, they're celebrating 20 years this year in Peoria. And then I think their first show was in 2005, and then they replicated the first time in 2009, and that's how we became a chapter.
That's so cool. So I apologize, I don't know too much about the Penguin Project. Is that like a Illinois thing, or is it like a national thing?
It's national. His goal is to be in all 50 states. He has multiple chapters in several states, so there's over 50 chapters as of last year, but not in 50 states yet.
Gotcha.
So
we're getting there.
Yes, if you go out to the Penguin Project Foundation website, there's a map, and you can search to find the chapter closest to you, and then they list all of our shows there. So that we're under the foundation, and then each chapter is its own organization. So it's got its own structure, got its own financing, makes our own decisions once we replicate out and become kind of our own thing. So
Gotcha. Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about what Penguin's Project mission is?
Yes. So the Penguin Project mission is very simple. And we'll talk a little bit about how the Penguin Project name came about. But our mission is by creating unrestricted access to the performing arts, the Penguin Project of McLean County demonstrates that the special challenges of a disability need not handicap a child's ability to participate in life's many experiences.
Oh, that's so precious.
I know, right?
That is so
Doesn't it
cute.
make you feel good to read that?
It does. I'm a little emotional, not gonna lie. That was cute.
So Dr. Morgan believes that by creating unrestricted access to performing arts, it sets a model for other activities to be able to provide unrestricted access to whatever. I think if you think about Special Olympics, there's a lot of access to sports and physical activities, but not all kids and adults like to do physical activities, and they want to be included. So his overall goal is that when organizations see our kids, our participants thrive, then they will take that model back and apply it to their organizations to make it more ingrained in how they do things. So that's a big piece of how we do everything. And the Penguin Project, so that's the mission, but our little tagline is, our penguins may not be able to fly, but that does not prevent their spirits from soaring.
Oh.
So the Penguin Project name comes from penguins are a bird, and in the bird community they have what's called a disability that they cannot fly. But if you think about all the ways that penguins have adapted and get around, they can swim, they can slide on their bellies, they can waddle. They do a lot of things that other birds can't do because of the way that they have had to adapt to their environment. So that's what the Penguin Project is about, and that's how it was named. And when we think about the way that penguins look and act around each other, they're happy birds. They love to be in community, so they're very social birds. They just don't fly. They do things differently. So when we think about how our kids succeed, it might not look the same for every single kid in our program. It also doesn't look the same every single practice or every single show. We have to modify and accommodate so that each one gets to fly. And so we talk about them soaring. Even though they can't fly, their spirits do soar.
That is just the cutest thing I've ever heard. I don't know about anybody else, but penguins are actually my favorite animal.
I love penguins.
Penguins are the greatest thing, and I feel like we have to mention like Mary Poppins on every episode that I do. Because that is why I do theater. But the penguins, of course.
Right, the dancing penguins.
Exactly, we love that. So awesome. So tell us a little bit about some of your upcoming events that you have going on here soon.
Sure. So we are actually celebrating 15 years. We have been around since 2009. We did have a little period there where we didn't get to perform because of that little pandemic thing.
Oh, yeah.
So we haven't had 15 shows, but we're going into our 15th season. And we are getting ready to kick things off on January 24th. We will have our informational meeting. That is open to participants and their adult or their guardian or their parent, however their family is structured. And we go through kind of what to expect. The application period opens that day, and we announce our show for the season. So that's a very exciting day for us. It's going to be at, I believe, 6:30. I will verify that. I believe
confirm.
It's 6:30 on January 24th.
Okay.
And so after that, then that'll open up the application period. It is shortened this year.
Okay.
Our application or our information meeting is 1 week later than normal, and because of the way the calendar falls, our rehearsals are actually starting the week early from when we normally do.
Okay.
So applications will be due on February 14th, and then we'll kick things off the last week of February, starting on rehearsals.
Okay.
And then our show will be May 30th through June 2nd.
So other than coming to that informational meeting, how can people get involved? Is that the best way to start?
That's a great way to start, because that's where we kind of lay out what the expectations are, how the season will work. We'll hand out our rehearsal schedule so they can get a long view of what the season's going to look like. We do a long theater season to be able to get to everything. So we start at the end of February and we go all the way through the first weekend in June. They can go out and check out our website. It's penguinprojectmclean.org. There's a ton of information there, and there's a 2024 season tab. That's where we'll put information about the information meeting, important dates that they need to know, and then the applications will be there as well. So we have a different application for artists versus mentors. So both of those will be there, so that they're easy access. They are an online application, so no paper.
Save the trees.
Yes, Google Form. So it's super easy and accessible way to get involved. But they can also email us, penguinprojectmclean@gmail.com. And if they have questions or they're not sure what to expect, we're happy to get people excited about it.
Awesome. Do you guys have like a home location or a set rehearsal space and where you perform?
So we perform at U-High in Stroud Auditorium. We don't move there until right before the show, though. So they have a lot of things going on in that beautiful auditorium. We are very blessed to use that space for our show, but we actually rehearse at the Normal Activity Center.
Oh, okay.
So that's where we are currently. We've been kind of nomads over the last 15 years. We've had a few different locations, and as we've grown, we've outgrown a lot of spaces because we have close to 80 participants.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a
That's
very
awesome.
large organization. So because we do a one-to-one pairing, each artist is paired directly with a peer mentor. So our cast is basically double the size of what the actual roles are cast. And so our mentors are on stage with our artists. They're costumed. They are part of the ensembles.
Okay.
And then depending on the artist, whether or not they need what kinds of supports, they may be a little bit farther back, or they may be right directly in physical contact with them. So 80 is including all artists and mentors.
I have been asking everyone how COVID impacted the organization. Some people, they obviously were hindered by it. Other people, like Nomad Theater, they kind of thrived in it because it allowed them to kind of pursue new things. So how did COVID impact the Penguin Project?
Yeah, so we were already in our season when COVID hit.
Oh, yeah.
So we tried to push up auditions. We don't do auditions until a few weeks in so that all of our kids can get out of their comfort zone and mentors can interact with different artists. So we do what we call Penguin 101. And we don't work on anything show related until after auditions because some of our participants are amazing memorizers. And we don't want them to memorize something that they're not going to be doing in the show because unlearning something they've memorized found is way harder. So that year we pushed up auditions, and we were thinking, as you all remember, March of 2020, it's just going to be a couple weeks. Yeah. Okay, we'll put a little pause on it. We'll go ahead and do auditions, get everybody cast into their roles, and then we can be working on their roles and their partnerships virtually. And then when we come back in a couple weeks, we'll be ready to hit the ground running. So that obviously didn't pan out. So once we made the hard decision, we were doing virtual rehearsals and just kind of like social hours, but that wasn't accessible to a lot of our participants, whether it was the social aspect of it, they couldn't grasp that their friends were on the screen, or the communication. We have a variety of disabilities. Some are learning related, some are developmental, some are sight and hearing. And so it wasn't accessible, and it was actually giving some of our participants anxiety. So we made the hard decision to go ahead and cancel that season, and we did a virtual show where they submitted videos and little skits that they did with their family, or we pieced them together on Zoom, and we sold tickets to our unopening night so that we could still put a little bit of money in the organization's pocket for the next season. And then because so many of our participants are high risk as far as medically complex or just immunocompromised, we didn't feel super comfortable doing a full season in 2021 where we packed 80 people into a practice space. So we shifted from our normal model in 2021 and shifted to the summer. And then we did different types of a smaller group, and we did a showcase. So we did it outdoors at Miller Park, and we had a lot of friends that were vaccinated at that point, so we felt a little safer. We still did masks and all that. But we did songs from every show that we had done up to that point.
Oh, very cool.
And then we ended with 2 fun songs. Okay. So that was a very different year. The participants were amazing and flexible when it didn't look the way it always has. Then in 2022, we came back to the show that we had picked for 2020, which was Shrek.
Okay, I was about to ask what that show was.
And so brought that back in 2022 and had a pretty normal season, except we had to figure out how to mic and costume around masks.
Yes.
And then in 2023, we were pretty much back to normal.
Okay. What was your 2023 show?
Oh, it was so fun. We did The Big 1-0.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a brand new show offered by MTI about a 9-year-old getting ready to turn 10 and his imaginary friends. And it had a lot of themes that our participants could really shine through their lived experiences. Yeah. It was the funniest announcement at our information meeting last year because no one had heard of it. So it was just crickets. No one was excited. And I was like, okay, let me explain. It's very exciting. And they all came around and it ended up being such a fun show. Awesome. So I highly recommend that one if somebody's considering a youth show. It is really fun. There's monsters. And yeah. And it's a spooky birthday party. We had so much fun with it.
Awesome. Excellent. So that was kind of a good segue. What is the age range for the Penguin Project?
That's a great question. So we have our artists who are the star of the show.
Yes.
That age range is 10 to 24. Okay. Most of the Penguin Project chapters go to age 21, but having the background of special education and supporting some transition programs that a lot of our participants are in, a lot of services end at 21. Illinois state law did change last year that if they turn 21 during the school year, they get to finish the school year. But it used to be before last year, the day they turn 21, they're removed from the school, removed from all their services, and that's really hard on some of our friends.
That.
I hate it. So in the state of Illinois now, they get to finish that school year.
Awesome.
So if they turn 21 in the school year, they get to finish that one. So we picked 24 so that they had a couple years of that transition out of their services, so that they still had something that was theirs.
Yeah.
It was
a constant. Yeah.
And that constant, exactly. The schedule, the routine, the thing to look forward to. We find that that's really great for our participants. And then our peer mentors, we use the peer mentor system. They're paired 1-to-1, so we do 12 to 24 to give our mentors just a couple more years to mature. Sure. That way, they have a little bit more under their experience belt to come in and pair 1-to-1 with our artists.
Do you do like age to age, or as best you can, or experience?
We try. That's it's a very thoughtful process. So I talked a little bit about Penguin 101. Yeah. It's the first 3 weeks of Penguin. The first 2 weeks we're doing like getting to know you, an icebreaker, and some like theater basics, getting them used to the terms that we're using, getting them used to getting out of their comfort zone, working with different friends. It's also a time for the staff to figure out what works for each partner and each participant. And then we do auditions. And then the staff all take notes during those first 3 weeks. So really the auditions are the first 3 weeks.
Sure.
And then we do an actual audition, and then we sit down and we do an all-day marathon, the staff, where we put the participants into a casting list. We make a lot of decisions based on previous experiences, what they've shown us the last 3 weeks, what they're currently capable of, or what we think we can get out of them. And then we take a breath, and then we go down the list and we pair 1-to-1. Sometimes artists will get 2 mentors if we have more mentors than artists, or we have an artist that needs a little extra support and we have the ability. There's also been times where we've had 2 artists share 1 mentor in the opposite scenario where they could do that. And so that is a literal all day. We have snacks and we might have a little wine and we just work through it. And so it's really thoughtful. It's one of the things I'm most proud of. Every single year, staff and family members and audience members always comment on, wow, those kids were in the right roles, or those partnerships, especially the returning participants, they fill out a survey. Everyone fills out, I have an artist survey and a mentor survey. I have an artist application and a mentor application. Yeah. In the survey, I ask them, either themselves or their advocate, to fill out getting to know you type things. What do they look like when they're happy? What kinds of things do they like? What kind of interventions might work if they do get upset? And so I spend time with all of those, and then we spend those 3 weeks with them, and then we spend that time with a pencil, because we put people one place and then we decide to move them around. And then we try our best, and then we share those surveys once they're paired up. So the artist gets the mentor survey, and the mentor gets the artist survey, so that either the artist who's a self-advocate and or the mentor can contact the parent if the artist needs some support from parents, and then they have that as a tool, and then I use it as a tool as well. So when we run into issues where we need to make a modification or accommodation, that's the first thing I reference.
Gotcha.
And then there's contact information there. I've had to reach out to teachers in the past and say, okay, what works in your classroom? Seriously, what's going on?
Like help.
Yes. And so that's what I'm the most proud of, is it's very thoughtful, and it is individualized, so that each participant has their own individual experience and gets the supports they need to be successful.
That's awesome.
It is really cool to see them too, and when they're given that unrestricted access, and that looks different for each of them, they really do shine. We see kids that couldn't say their name and introduce themselves the first night to getting a lead role the next year.
Right.
Just beaming on stage, and there's a lot of emotion to that part of it, and seeing parents see their kids do things that they didn't think at the beginning. I also I'm really strict. I don't let parents in the rehearsal space unless there's an emergency.
Good for you.
Because a lot of our participants need that as their own time, and they're going to act better when their parents aren't there.
Yeah.
And so there's been a few times where we've had some parents that were very nervous about that.
Sure.
And then to see the end of the season where their kid is on stage and just shining their brightest light, I've had some tears with parents for sure.
Oh yeah, I bet.
At the end of the season. So it's really a family, and I call it my penguin bubble because I wish more of the world worked the way Penguin Project works.
Yeah.
And it's so special because these families don't experience this anywhere else.
Right.
And it's something that's theirs. And the parents end up connecting, siblings get involved as mentors. Those are the best mentors because we never pair them with their own sibling, but they're in the group, and they might have suggestions for the other mentors, like, oh yeah, my sister, she doesn't like that, but if you do it this way or you say it this way, you'll totally have her under your finger. So
awesome.
It's such a cool experience to have a space where and I have to say this, the mentors are just my heroes. They're teenagers. They're young adults. They give up all their time to make someone else succeed. And the better the mentor, the more invisible they are on stage, which is incredible that they would give all this time for somebody else to be successful and shine.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So, it's giving me chills.
I know. And it gets me emotional every year to see these little friendships that are built. So yes, we do a show. That's the end of it. Yes. Cherry on top, we created a show. But the things that happen, like building friendships and their self-confidence and even their speech and language, their social skills, just seeing them grow in all those areas, and then parents having support of other parents who understand the experience. They get that respite time, they get community with other parents that understand the struggles that they have, and it's just a really, really special experience for everyone that's involved, not just the artists, but it ends up being a really cool experience for everyone.
That's incredible. So we were talking a little bit before we started recording, but you are the director, and I had asked you, is that like director of the show, director of the program?
Sure.
And then you had also mentioned that there's a board, so you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our president is Dee Wilson. She is one of the founding members of the Penguin Project of McLean County. It is her baby. We would not be here 15 years later if it wasn't for all of her work. And then our secretary, I'm not sure if she's a secretary or the treasurer, one of the other board members was one of the original members that brought Penguin Project to McLean County.
Okay.
She is no longer active as far as being like at every rehearsal, but she supports on the board side of things. And then our other board member is a parent that helps with kind of the coordination of our grants and our fundraising. All that is to say, all of us are volunteers. And so when I came in as producer, I was producer for 2 years. And then my friend that got me involved moved to Galesburg.
Oh,
and
well.
I know, right? Like got me started and then headed out. So she recommended that I become the director. And I sat down with the board and I changed a few things about how we do things to make it more efficient and make it focused solely on our artists succeeding, and brought a few new people in on my staff. When I switched director, I had to bring in some new people. So I handle all of the creative decisions relating to the show, all of our artist and mentor pairings, but because of the skill set that I have outside of Penguin Project, I also handle our website, our social media, and things like this, our PR, if I can. I run our email. Dee and I both share the email depending on if it's more business side or more show related. And then I coordinate as far as deciding who's on staff, who's volunteering, and I pick the show. And then I make all the creative decisions as far as the show goes. So it's a lot of different hats, and I get paid mostly in hugs and high fives. That's whenever I bring somebody on staff. The staff is a real generous term to you're a volunteer that gets a little tiny stipend at the end of the year and lots of hugs and high fives.
That's great.
And so, most of the time when somebody's seen one of our shows or has known a participant, they're all in. So it's not about the payment. Now, if I could do this for my full-time job, I would happily do that.
I feel like any theater goer, like if we could do this full-time, I would.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so all of our staff and volunteers have full-time jobs. They come from different backgrounds. They have families. And so we all come together on Tuesdays and Thursdays starting in February and put together what I believe is a really fun show every year. We don't modify the script. We do full lights, sound, makeup, hair, costumes. Do not revise the script. We make it work throughout the season so that each kid has the accommodation they need to be successful. And then we put on a full-scale junior version of a Broadway musical once a year.
That's so cool. So you did mention that you are also kind of responsible for your social medias and the website. So would you just mind reiterating your website where listeners can find you and what social media platforms you're on?
Absolutely. So penguinprojectmclean.org is our website. And then you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Penguin Project McLean. We used to have Twitter, but we don't really use that very much. So you might find us there, but it's not super relevant. Yeah. I would say Facebook and Instagram are the best place to find us.
Awesome.
There is a Facebook event out there for the information meeting, and we will have Facebook events out there for the show weekend as well. So you can put it in your calendar and remind yourself.
We'll make sure to share it.
Fantastic. Very good.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with us today. I was very excited. I don't know how I didn't think to reach out to Penguin initially. We just I found my way to you, and I was like, let's get you on. This will be a good time.
I'm so glad that you found us. And honestly, 15 years in, we still have people that are like, I didn't know that existed.
I always thought it was out of Peoria.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And I have, I'm really good friends with, Alex Lovell, and I know she is very involved. Judy Strove, very involved.
Yes. Judy's been with us since the beginning.
Yeah.
Alex is our choreographer. So we're very lucky to have specifically those two that you named, but several staff members that have a wealth of knowledge and experience in theater, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know how this works. This is my idea in my brain. Would this work? And they're like, don't do that. That's terrible. Or, yeah, we could make that work. It'll be crazy, but we can do it.
Awesome. So, all right, Jackie, anything you want to add before we let you go?
I will just say this. If you can't participate by being in the production, please mark your calendar and come see our show. I promise you, I guarantee this on my life, that you will not leave without a smile on your face.
Oh, I bet.
It is a heartwarming experience, and I don't believe there's anything else like this.
I don't think so.
And it's truly one of those experiences that once you come to one show, you're going to want to come back every year. So we usually do a pay what you can Thursday in case the ticket price is restrictive.
Sure.
We do a pay what you can preview. It's sometimes a mess because it's a preview. It's technically our last dress rehearsal, and then we do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday production. So definitely come see it. It's family friendly, and also if there was ever a space where you weren't sure if your kiddo or maybe a person that you have in your family can't sit through a show or be quiet in a show, it's a good audience to come to. We have a lot of flexibility for wiggly bodies and people that sing along or clap along. There's a lot of grace in our audience for that.
Awesome. And then before I just had another thought in my head. You do the junior versions of the productions.
Do, yes.
So what is your average run time for your shows?
So the junior versions are broken down into a 60-minute show. We do add an intermission in.
Okay.
So we typically, even though the junior shows don't have it, that's the only modification I make to the script is adding my own intermission.
Sure.
So we'll break it into 2 acts where it makes sense about midpoint and do a 15-minute intermission. So with that, and then sometimes we do like a question and answer session at the end. I would say give yourself an hour and a half.
Okay, 90 minutes, not bad.
Yeah, and then the doors do open 30 minutes before the show, so if you want to come in and stake your spot out, it's general admission tickets, so we don't have reserved seating. So, yeah, give yourself 2 hours then if you want to come in and get your best seat.
Right, exactly. So, and if you've never been to Stroud, Stroud is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's accessible, and it's such a good space for us. So we're so grateful that we get to use that. And I should mention this. Ben Webb is the director of the theater program at U-High. He volunteers his time, and several of his students volunteer for tech for us. And they also keep me in the rails of doing things that we can do in theater and not being too lofty with my goals or my ideas. So I'm always so grateful for those students that give their time in the summer after the school year's ended. They stick around and help us. So. And
the students at U-High are great. I'm their choreographer.
Oh, fantastic.
So I'm choreographing their production of Mean Girls coming up here.
Fun.
And I've worked with a lot of high schools here in the community, and they're all great students, but the talent that comes out of U-High is mind-blowing.
It's amazing.
So, yeah, definitely. Awesome.
What a gift. I love that.
All right, well, be sure to follow along on the website and social medias, and we will make sure that we get everyone to your informational meeting a week from today when this podcast is airing.
Yes.
So everyone make sure you go and get all of the information you can.
Fantastic.
So, awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie. I hope you have a great day.